Today we are going to build a Dell Optiplex. Now it's not quite the Dell Optiplex, it's more like the steroid version of a Dell Optiplex. Now this is the SilverStone Milo or Milo, but I think it's Milo 12. And there's a spider in the box. How did a spider get in here? Okay, we are in a basement. There is a spider crawling inside of that bag right now. It's still in the bag. What should I do with that thing now? On a side note, I hate spiders. Anyway, this is the SilverStone Milo. This is a case that does really look like it would stand on the average office. This is the type of stuff that would be sitting next to your high school teacher. It does really look like it, but it is a high performance version. First off, it is completely filled with mesh, and it's not stupid mesh. It's not just mesh to have mesh, because the top and the bottom do not have like an air filter. There is no double filtration happening. However, on the side panels, there you have the usual dust filter, which makes total sense. You have an intake on the side and you blow it off at the top, which doesn't really make any sense to have a dust filter on the top. I feel so uncomfortable right now because of that goddamn spider. So that's what we're going to do today. Build a very office-like looking PC, which is actually the gaming or a very good, very potent gaming machine. Let me just remove all of the panels. And here you should already be able to see why I was so excited about this case. Because on one side, you have everything what's PSU and motherboard, CPU, air cooler sitting on top. And then if you flip the case on the other side, which may be at the top or the bottom, depending on how you position the case, but on the other side, in a completely separate compartment, you got your GPU. And that layout, completely separate CPU, GPU layout, different airflow, different air intake, air exhaust for both components. This is the best possible scenario for any type of SFF build. So let's get to it. Here we should just have the feet. Oh no, this is the riser cable for the GPU, which we are going to need, which is included with the case. Doesn't look like it likes to be bent. And here we should find the feet for the case. Yeah, because you can put the case on like rubber knobs, let's say, or you can build like this very fancy looking stand. It will probably be later on the stand that looks a lot more sturdy. So what is going in? First off, let's talk motherboard. We have the ASRock PG Riptide B650E paired with a, where it is? Here. Paired with a 7600X. Now this is not the most powerful setup. However, it's going to be more than sufficient for the average gaming, and I wanted to try out that SilverStone Hydragon H90, which should be fine for the average gaming. I don't think I would recommend a 7600X pad with this for like production work, but for gaming that should be plenty. And then for the GPU, I'm not quite 100% sure if this will fit, but I wanted to fit my Zotac RTX 3080 Ti. We will see, but this is one of the GPUs where you have like air going through the heatsink and then coming out at the back of the GPU, which is very, very good for this case, because, can you see it? How should I show it? Yeah, because if you have the GPU like this in the case, so there is your back exit, and here you have all of the fans, it will blow through these two holes and then out on the other side through the mesh, not recycling the air over and over and over again. And that's exactly what I wanted to achieve. Plus, what you could also do is add another fan in the back here, a 140 I believe, which you would still need to put in reverse to pull the air through the GPU. But that's another topic. So let's start building by preparing the motherboard. I know that that's the wrong cover. I know that I'm using a Gigabyte cover for a ASRock motherboard. I just don't know where the ASRock cover is. I still love that SilverStone used like a Lego style kick them out thing to house all of the spacers. That's a very smart way of doing it. Saves space, saves you the headache of putting everything into bags. Kind of cool idea. We need to see how it looks like once it's inside, but this is ready. For the power supply, SilverStone also sent over a neat little package. This is their Extreme Series Extreme H50R Platinum, which sounds very extreme. It is very small. It's a SFF I believe, normal SFF or SFFL. I'm not quite sure right now, but it's a very SFF. It's a very small power supply. This thing is supposed to push 850 watts, which, just think back to 10 years ago, 5 years ago, where the average ATX power supply was pushing like 300-400, and now we got like this tiny piece pushing so much freaking power. Times are changing so quick. And apparently you have included in the box a little bracket to mount it to a regular ATX power supply. I won't need it today, but it's cool to have. CPU, 24 pin. The GPU has 2 power plugs, right? Yeah, should be 2 8 pins. Oh yeah, and we got a 450 watt Nvidia plug included in the box, which is also quite cool. But keeping that in mind, it's rated for 450, so I would not use this one on 4090s. This is CPU. Where are more PCIe's? Okay, it just comes with a single PCIe. Yeah, okay, 8-pin PCIe times are basically over. So I guess that's kind of explainable why they are not including more PCIe cables inside of this, because you're supposed to use the new Nvidia plug. Or if you have like an AMD GPU, you can use the 2, I guess. It's a way of doing. I'm not sure if I'm happy with that, but it's a way of doing things. Inside the Milo case, everything has its own separate compartment. For the PSU, it is kinda sharing the side with the motherboard, but like this whole area here is just PSU. And there is a bracket pre-installed for SFX power supplies, which you can or shouldn't use depending on what you are going with. But as we are going with an SFF power supply, we need to use it basically, and we can't screw it straight to that bracket because the holes for the screws are inaccessible. So we need to remove that whole damn bracket. Why do we need to remove that whole damn bracket? And ta-da! SFF bracket, or SFX power supply bracket. And now we can mount the thing, and then we can mount the bracket back to the case. It feels like an unnecessary step. 1 hour later. Okay, power supply is in. The cables are surprisingly free down here, but I guess that is a necessity given that you can mount, or you should be able to mount, regular ATX power supplies to it. So you need all of that real estate in the bottom. But having like the small one does give you the feeling of having a huge amount of space. And there is a sticker on here that I still need to remove. To power the power supply, we have basically an extension cord that comes out in the back. So let's just quickly do this and hit the switch, because I can guarantee you that I will forget it otherwise. Ta-da! Okay, I guess motherboard time. There are SFF cases that are a brain hemorrhage to work inside, but the Milo isn't one of them. This was so freaking easy. Oh my god, was this easy. I'm very happy how easy this was. Like from a how much or how angry will I become if I need to build a PC in its point of view, this is amazing. SFF cases are usually SFF. Like this is a small case. It's not the average case, but I wouldn't necessarily call it an SFF case, but it's more like an office PC. However, like compare the average Dell Optiplex. If you need to open it up, you have 2 broken fingernails, you are angry as hell, and here, this is very much enjoyable. SilverStone did a very good job here. Now I just need to figure out how to install that PCIe extension. Let's try it like this. This looks kinda correct. Let's just press it in. Great. In hindsight, I don't really see a reason why SilverStone did not pre-mount this PCIe bracket that is, or extension that is coming out on the other side. Or not even PCIe extension, more like riser. And 180-degree angle. No, it's a minus 90-degree angle. The GPU is looking into the other side, into the other direction. We are very far along. Okay, now is the moment of truth. Does the 3080 Ti fit in here? I have no clue. I have not double-checked the dimensions of this GPU. I just hope. because I think it would look awesome in here. It has been a long time since we used this GPU. Half a year ago I used to use it in basically every build, and now it hasn't seen a camera in like 6 months. Yeah, of course this will fit. This has even like breathing space. And because this is a triple slot situation, I have no doubt that this will fit just fine. And I will install it on the last two so that it has as much space to the front as possible, just to give it like some breathing air in front of it. Oh yeah, we got this GPU holder that I need to push to the front, otherwise the GPU won't fit. Ta-da! Oi, this GPU is really like the most you can do. Oi, you need to pay some attention here. Although this is a dual slot card, the fans in the bottom are protruding to such a degree that they are almost sticking out of the case, but just almost. Okay, now last thing I need to make sure of is that this GPU holding thingy is not A, falling out, and B, blocking my fan, because a second ago it did block my fan. You see, this is not acceptable. I want to use it, but I don't want it to block the GPU. How could I achieve this? Perfect. Okay, the PC is ready. Now, in theory, we could mount another 140 fan here in the back, which would, in the best case, pull air through the GPU, helping cards like A47, T40, 80, 40, 90, which have like those huge openings in the back. However, with this GPU, there is not a lot of opening, so I don't really see a particular reason to do it. But wow, was this easy. Like, what did this take? Like 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Cable management, sure, it's not particularly beautiful, but it's black cables, it won't ever be beautiful. So I guess let's close this up and see how it looks closed. Okay, and now onto the tiny whiny feet, and now I can decide which orientation I want to put it in. But I think this down, start button up. How cute! Yeah, I guess let's start this up. This thing turned out nice. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. The stand is a bit wobbly, but the interior is. I'm very happy how this turned out. Like, if you compare this to the average Dell Optiplex, this is a gaming Dell Optiplex. This is a machine. Now, we ran a few tests, not that many, but a few. And we had a Cinebench R23 running constantly, and Formac 1080p, every setting to high, also constantly in the background. And the CPU was hitting 95 degrees C, as every Ryzen 7000 will. However, it downclocked slightly to 4.9 gigahertz. Now, I would have liked to see 5 point something, 5.2, 5.3, but that wasn't happening. So I disabled PBO, and we were hitting 5 at that point. It was drawing, I think, like 80, 90, 95 watts, something in that range, and hitting 5 gigahertz all core in Cinebench, so that's fine. The GPU was sitting at 76, which is very close to what the GPU would do out of the box, so that's really fine. But considering that it has like its separate compartment, it is breathing free air and pushing it out again, I guess that was kind of foreseeable. That was fine. We also ran the Shadow of the Tomb Raider like in-game, built-in benchmark tool, just to see how this will actually perform if you would game on it, because running Cinebench in a loop isn't what the average guy would do out there. And there we saw pretty much what I expected to see. First of all, sorry for the slideshow, but I was recording on the CPU, or encoding on the CPU, while the CPU was pegged yeah, I'm sorry for the slideshow. But then we were seeing 5.1 GHz and even sometimes 5.2 and whilst pushing 200 FPS plus. So that's really fine. It's not perfect, but considering the Ultra SFF cooler that we have on here, it is fine, or it is acceptable at least. Now, would I do this myself? Yes and no. The PC as a whole, absolutely yes, goddamn. If somebody asks me to build like an office PC that has some punch to it, it's going to be this case. I'm not going to suggest to him to take whatever Dell puts on the market and then be unhappy with it. You can do this, and this is so much freaking better than anything Dell can push on the market. But I wouldn't necessarily leave the cooler as it is. I would exchange the 92mm fan for something thicker. The one on here is only 15mm thick, and I believe if you take, let's say, a Noctua 92mm fan that has a 25mm thickness, you could achieve a lot more cooling. Or just take another cooler. But I guess with a better fan, you can already achieve a lot more here, or to the point where the CPU wouldn't throttle itself anymore at all under all circumstances. Other than that, if you would have taken something like a 7600 non-X CPU, that also would have been fine. I was pushing upwards of like 90 watts in Cinebench, and limiting it down to 65 would completely solve the issue. So an alternative, if I wouldn't take the system apart, is just to limit the settings down to 65 watts on the chip, and then everything would be running just fine. It wouldn't be throttled anymore, and it wouldn't be sitting at 95 degrees C anymore all the time. So there's also a possibility. But for the build, for the case, I am really freaking happy. Building in it, quality, I'm really happy how this turned out. The GPU has so much space in here. The CPU cooler could have been a lot higher, like we are missing like this. So Nokia NH, what is it, L9X65 would have fit, possibly even like the L12S. But as a whole, I'm very glad. A bit too much on the CPU end, but I don't have a smaller Ryzen 7000. But as a whole, really glad. So for today, I hope you enjoyed my attempt of building the better Dell Optiplex, and I think I achieved it, but you can tell me down below. But for today, this is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't watched the review about this case, I think that would be a great spot to continue this, because the case is pretty interesting to say the least. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.